Taxes. That'd be right, we're doing taxes. And it's all about China and the taxes. And he's going to give us our paychecks without taxes because it's all about China.
Fuck China.
Fuck China.
Alright, fresh sheet of paper.
Fresh sheet. It's fresh. 1, 2.
Alright, taxes. Can we look up one number quick before we go live? I believe it's 4.4 trillion. But what is the actual number of tax dollars collected last year? I think it's 4.4 trillion.
Well, I'm already running live right now, and I really don't care if they hear us talking about that.
But the end of the world.
No, it's not. But yeah, so we're looking at how much? What now? How much taxes were paid in?
What is the actual number of tax dollars collected by the IRS last year?
Taxes collected
by the IRS last year.
IRS.
There it was. Go back. Just delete a couple. One more.
Boom. Boom shakalaka laka 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 laka. 3.46 trillion.
If someone gave you the reins and said you have a business to run, you have $3.5 trillion to do it.
That just blows my mind.
That we don't have better.
I can't even fathom in my mind how much money that is.
I can't even fathom how much is being wasted either. Because like you have you have a job, you have $3.5 trillion to do it. You would think we could maybe give away some free education or something.
I mean, we haven't even started, people. We haven't even started
We're
this.
just trying to look it up.
We're just looking it up and getting warmed up for this live session. We haven't even started yet, and we're already in this mode. This is going to be fiery. It's going to be fiery. It's going to be hot. It's going to be a hot one. Like Takis. Hot Takis.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, love. Hello, governor. But I'm keeping up company. I ain't talking to you if you don't have love for me. One for you and one for me. I ain't talking to you if you don't have love for me. Wow. And I put them on the down.
Alright, I'm
That's that before I drown. Oh, we have a lighting issue.
That was my fault, folks.
We have a lighting issue. Yes, we have lights now that are up.
My fault. That was my chair.
Yes, we have lights now that are up.
That was my chair.
Wait, don't sit down yet.
Yep.
Here we go.
That was my chair, folks.
Okay, we're about ready to go live.
Here we go.
All right, here we go. Let me go ahead and say welcome everybody out there in the podcast nation as we get ready for another live, hot piece of wonderful information for everybody.
Information.
And I am the Recovery Atheist, and I just got to say that I am so happy. Another way that you are here with us today. I'm going to go ahead and shut my man Mac Miller down a little bit here so we can hear.
Yeah, we are more than happy. More than happy.
We are so excited to have you with us today on this beautiful Saturday evening. It is kind of humid out here in Duluth today. We got a cold front moving through overnight, only in the 70s tomorrow. I'm digging that. So anyway, today what we're going to do and the topic we're going to do, coming from Wierman Media Studios, is taxes. Now, we kind of said it, I was doing a live feed just a little bit back ago here today where we were talking about it. Donald Trump today signed off on the bill to be able to allow us to not have to pay taxes on our paychecks.
You just did it for the rest of the year.
So anyone under $100,000 now is exempt of paying those taxes, which for me it's about 150 at least every check that I'm going to get to keep, which
is huge.
Huge. I'm so excited to. I mean, that's money I get to put right back into this and invest in you out there and bringing content. So I'm really pumped up about that.
That's because he has control of his money and his energy. He's investing his resources in himself.
Right,
wow,
right.
What a surprise.
Yeah, I'm not taking my money and spending it, what did they say, frivolously or whatever?
Frivolously.
Yeah, I'm not out there just spending it on anything. I am spending my money to put into things to develop and grow and invest in my future.
What a strategy. It seems so simple, but you actually take the time and the energy to work to make money and then slowly invest in yourself and building out something you love to do and can possibly make a living doing. I mean, that just seems simple, but I guess a lot of people kind of struggle with that.
Right.
But yeah, and then I just think it's really cool. We're going to be talking about taxes. And keep in mind, none of this here is scripted. We come from the heart. We come real. We come vulnerable and authentic with you with what we're doing. We are passionate and we care and we want to try and bring value and show that we care and show the passion. So today we're going to talk about taxes. And it's a really big topic. It's really interesting when you start to talk about what he just mentioned with the tax payroll cut Trump just gave, but also when you start to look at the total amount of money that the IRS has access to on a regular annual basis. Last year, we looked it up on the internet, it is just shy of $3.5 trillion. So if someone gave you a job tomorrow, if you were the chief financial officer or you were the one in charge, and they said, well, you have $3.5 trillion to get the job done.
I mean, I can't even fathom how much that is.
You can pretty much do
I can't even wrap my brain around it.
Neither can I. $3.5 trillion.
Well, have you ever seen the pictures of like $1 million, how much that is if you put it in stacks?
Well, actually, you can pull it up online. There's actually a thing I've Googled before, and it tells you how many pallets of $100 bills it is.
It's ridiculous.
It's like a whole, I can't remember the exact amount, but it's like a whole pallet full of $100 bills stacked up 3-4 feet tall, and then there's like, it fills a football field. It's just ridiculous amounts of money. But yes, I agree with you. I just find it interesting that we have so much money, and the president has access to so much money, and then we still claim that we can't do all these things. When really, Trey, I mean, I shouldn't call you Trey, but that's the Recovery Atheist.
I am Trey Entertainment.
TRAE Entertainment. Trey. So ultimately, we could really make anything happen. It's just whether or not we want to do that. Like education, the way it is, if we wanted to, we have $3.5 trillion a year. We could afford to give people more education. It's just, I guess, I just find that interesting that we can start to really do whatever we want. It's just a matter of where we're putting that all this $3.5 trillion.
Well, and the thing is, like you said about Trey Entertainment, obviously that is my business name. I mean, my branding is the Recovery Atheist, but behind me is my business, and that's Trey Entertainment.
The Recovery Atheist Entertainment.
Right.
TRAE.
TRA, so it's the Recovery Atheist, but we just go by Trey. So yeah, eventually as time goes on, taxes are going to be an issue. It's going to be something I'm going to have to deal with as I am gradually building and growing this business of mine, and obviously collaborating with JR over here with his business as well, and us working together that way.
Here's the interesting thing. A lot of people dog people that don't pay taxes as business, but when you realize the tax structure, it's just how it is.
And the expenses that we put into this.
Exactly.
I don't make a lot of money, but I have to invest a lot of money into this if I'm going to get any payoff off of it.
So that's the thing with the moving company I had. I learned a lot about this tax code. Once you go into business, you start to learn a lot more about it. I didn't pay taxes at the end of the year, and I started to understand it made sense. Because all along, when I was buying trucks, buying gear, buying stuff, I was constantly paying taxes.
Right.
So at the end of the year, my tax return was going to say I didn't pay taxes. But guess what? I bought a $20,000 truck and a $20,000 truck, and each time I bought those two trucks, I paid like $3,000 in taxes just on each truck. And then I was paying, every time I paid my employees, I was having to match their state taxes and their Social Security and their Medicare. Like, I had to match all of that shit. So I was paying taxes all along. But here's the key, brother. I never paid myself. It's just like all the big dogs. When you look at the big dogs in business, Amazon, he pays himself $1. It makes sense once you understand it, because why would I take money that gets paid? My business is me. So I'm going to let my business be me, and if I need to go buy something, I'll buy it in the business name. It makes you really gain awareness about your money.
Oh, that's very smart.
It makes sense. So listen.
Very smart to pay yourself $1 like that.
Because most people are paying themselves a bunch of money. But once you realize it makes no sense, because listen, once I have $100,000 go to my business account, all I would do is send it to my personal account to pay taxes on and have a retirement. But guess what? At my age, I'm aware that I'm an entrepreneur, and most likely there's not going to be retirement. So I realize I'm going to pay myself nothing, and I'm just going to keep building my business. And I'm going to, do you get what I'm saying? So if I have $100,000 in my business account, I don't need to send it to my personal account. I am the owner. So if I need to pay myself a cash dividend or anything, I literally bounced this off an accountant, and I looked at Jeff Bezos and all the best companies. Right. They pay themselves $1, and they do everything within their business. Right. So Bezos' house is in his business name. It makes sense, because then it also removes liability. You don't have any personal attachment to any of it, and you have no personal income. Your business makes all the money, and if you buy a house or you buy a piece of land, you buy it in the business name. It makes sense when you realize it.
Well, this is the interesting thing. This is the one time that you're going to hear this. So please, everybody, record this.
The one time.
Share it to your friends. Let them know what's going on. I actually support Trump in this decision. I am actually pleased with him that he made this decision.
He had to.
That he had to.
If they didn't do anything.
One, it's going to help his campaign doing this. Two, when it comes down to what the Democrats were shuffling their feet. Like I said, I'm not left or right. I'm more of the moderate. I do lean more to the left.
I agree with you.
Were shuffling.
They should have been able to meet halfway. They weren't going to meet halfway.
And so what Trump did is said, fine, you're not going to do it. Even though the Democrats are saying there's not money. This is literally what they said. I'm sitting here reading the article through CNN. It says, but when asked about the president's executive action asking states to pay 25% of the $400 unemployment relief, an official from eastern state run by a Democratic governor laughed, we don't have the money. So he is doing this in the middle of them saying they don't have the money to do it, and he doesn't care because he knows, this is by what he's saying, they were looking at $600 and they ended up lowering it to $400. But he says, I'm taking action to provide an additional or extra $400 a week and expanded benefits, $400. That's generous, but we want to take care of our people. His quote. Now, this is one time where I actually look at what Trump is saying there, and I applaud him on what he's doing there.
I appreciate it. I mean, there's no way if the Republicans and Democrats couldn't meet halfway, like you said, shuffling their
somebody had to do something, and he stood up on it and said, "Fine, I'm just going to go ahead and sign it into action and just put that money out there."
Sorry to say, anyone that opposes what he just did is kind of not about the people. If you're going to say
this is what we needed badly,
the people needed the extension of unemployment, they needed tax payroll cut. They probably needed even more, but he did something as opposed to the Democrats and the Republicans at Congress and Capitol Hill just saying, oh, we're going to do this. They're having a political standoff. Instead of being, okay, let's meet halfway and bring them something. I just admire the fact that at least something's being done. Action over everything is what I always say. But
the thing is, there's people out there that are hurting a lot more than I am. I could definitely use the money, without a doubt. But there's people out there that are worse than me. So if this wouldn't have gone through, I would have survived.
But imagine the people.
But how many people out there wouldn't have?
Evictions. Imagine it's millions of people. It would. So yeah, I agree. But at the same time, I think it's really interesting to talk about taxes and how very few people don't understand taxes. So that's why Rich Dad Poor Dad. Remember the episode we did on our favorite books? The number one book. The first time I really gained any awareness on taxes was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad and running my moving company. I really had no idea about tax structure and all that. I always thought. And then even lots of people I meet, they don't understand that as a business, you instantly get advantages. All you have to do is go file with the IRS, open your employment identification number. So you file with the state, with the secretary, and then you register with the Federal Reserve, the IRS. And then once you have that, register your business. Now you can open a business account, and now you get all the tax breaks that a business does. The government favors business owners. It's simple. It's easier to you get more tax write-offs. If you're generating jobs, if you're generating income for other people, and you're helping the economy and your community by providing business, providing jobs, providing opportunities to earn income, you'll be rewarded for that. You will be rewarded for that risk. So, once you realize that, it's one of the number one advantages you'll ever have. And Robert Kiyosaki says it. He says, two of the things that keep people poor more than anything are fear and taxes.
Right. And so I want to get into another little discussion about taxes. There was one other time that so far that Trump's been in office that I really agreed with, and that was him imposing more taxes on China for the products, going in and out of there dealing with this country, because he felt that the money was being made by China and not by us, where he's like, it's all China's fault, So I applaud that. And the reason why I say that is we did a little investigation, didn't we?
We did.
We did a little investigation of the products and the things that we have right now in our studio.
It's sad when you realize this. It's really sad.
How much of our stuff was made in China?
95%, 99%.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably a couple items in here that weren't, but so I would say 95 to 99% of the stuff in our studios here currently in Duluth, Minnesota, comes from China. It's just mind-boggling. It's kind of sickening.
And I said it earlier. I said to you that Walmart, I mean, literally it's 85% of everything that's sold at Walmart is made in China. So, I mean, it's unreal how much we are affected by China when it comes to our products and what we're buying. Now, you asked it earlier to me before we went online, is where can I go to buy this stuff and not have it be in China? And I says, well, there's certain companies out there, they don't make everything that you're going to want to get, but there's certain companies out there that will make the product you need. But guess what? I guarantee you're going to pay double.
But even an iPhone, like if you like what you're saying is true, but like all the elite items, you really don't have a choice.
No.
Like Apple, if I want an iPhone.
Now, of course, it's designed and stuff like that in California, like you said, but it is assembled in China. That's why you're getting all those knockoff, fake iPhones that are coming out of China, sold on Wish and all these other websites, is because they assemble it over there, so they sneak out the designs of it and then go and try to make their own on their own and then sell them and try to say that they're real iPhones.
So it's an interesting point, because that's probably why the reason is because the cheap labor in China. People don't want to have their products manufactured here. They just want to sell them here because they don't want to pay for the more expensive labor here.
Oh, read that. Read that.
China accounted for 28% of global manufacturing output in 2018.
Over a fourth of the
world.
Of the world.
China is accounting for 28% of the world's manufacturing. No wonder why they're doing so well. That's 10% above the next closest country, which is us. That's a huge red flag. I would start to really look deeper into how we can become number one at manufacturing.
I mean, that's crazy.
That's interesting. That's a great statistic, Del. Great job pulling that up. So that's the top 4. Let's list it for the people. Top 4 countries in the world as far as what they're giving output-wise in manufacturing, in global manufacturing output, and what they're giving the world, which is like a topic I like to talk a lot about, is consuming and versus creating. We talk about it. Giving versus taking. And this is directly correlated with that.
And I've got a couple things. There's a couple.
So China's giving, they're creating more as far as manufacturing products and items than anyone. They're at 28.4%, and the United States is at 16.6% global manufacturing output.
Now, here's where it gets interesting.
And Japan and Germany.
I hate to interrupt you on this, but this is where it gets interesting, because we got Japan on there, we got Germany on there, we've got India on there. These are 3 countries that make a lot of product. I mean, especially when it comes to Japan with the electronics. You got Germany, who is very good with mechanicals, whether it be with vehicles, things of that nature. You got India. They used to be it all got transferred to China. And now in India, it's all about call centers, like customer service call centers for Verizon. Like you call them in and they're like, yep, this is Patrick. And it's like, it's all in India. So things have changed, but you look at Japan, Germany, and India, they used to be on the forefront of industry. And now it's like China is just sucking up everything.
China's blowing up huge. A lot of people don't realize they're like number 1 in the world as far as how big they are. And
I'm going to keep looking. But
that's really interesting. 16.6% global manufacturing output for America and 28.4% for China. So that means between America and China, we're accounting for approximately 45% of the entire global output in manufacturing. But it's really interesting. And I think taxes relate to all this, because if you look at it, America has high tax. A lot of businesses try and avoid the taxes here, so that's why they go to these other countries.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you always hear about offshore businesses and so forth because they're trying to avoid U.S. taxes.
All right, so look at this. What percentage of products manufactured in China are exported to the United States? United Goods imports from China totaling $539.5 billion in 2018. A half a trillion, man.
It's pretty fucked up.
Coming in from China. U.S. imports from China account for 21% of all U.S. imports.
So we need to start. I think we should just completely start cutting China off. But how do we do that?
Look at that. Industrial output of China is 40.5% of our GDP. So
what was that?
Yeah. So the GDP, the actual value of what the country is, the industrial output that they're putting out toward us is literally 40.5% of that. Yeah. So we're paying what U.S. goods are paying for. In China, we pay for, it says here, of the total, 9.4, but about 3.5% of the Chinese economy is coming from our pockets. That means they're rich already.
I'm not a fan, man. I think we should start focusing on how we can move everything back to the U.S. And I think it has to do with...
Well, how many companies moved over there and outsourced?
Manufacturing.
And left people here unemployed to just go do it because they can go over there and have sweatshops and pay them $2 an hour.
So it's an interesting topic because ultimately I'm a huge fan of Apple products, but then it's like, fuck, how can I use these products knowing it's like I love them? They're the most modern day innovative technology. The Apple MacBook Pro, the Apple iPhone. And then they're sourcing it all the time.
And I'm addicted to the iPhone.
How do I stop? Man, it's sad.
Yeah, how do you stop not supporting it?
I think we have to. It would be really cool if we could start seeing legislation push these businesses to have all their manufacturing in the U.S., like especially the big ones.
Well, that's the way it used to be. You look at World War II.
When you look at when we're thriving, and when America's doing their best, we're manufacturing a shit ton.
Right. Back in those days, it was. We were American strong. To the point where businesses were making war, helping in the war effort, and making planes and ammunition and everything else because we had the manpower here to do it. We don't have that manpower anymore here. Our manufacturing. I'll give an example. You look at Gary, Indiana.
Gary, Indiana. Can I look something up quick?
Yeah, go ahead. Gary, Indiana, used to be pretty much the steel capital of the world. U.S. Steel, and they would provide steel to the car industries, GM, Ford, all of them. And it used to be a thriving city. It used to have a bunch of rich people that lived there because of it, a bunch of blue-collar people. It was a hard industrial, like a Pittsburgh, of that time in Gary. Since then, those companies have gone under. A lot of them have outsourced and moved, and it is now a city that's in just complete chaos. It's been for many years, decades now, and it's been overrun by crime and poverty and everything else like that because, and Michigan too as well. Flint, Michigan has one of the highest unemployment rates in the country because they're outsourcing a lot of companies there and moving them either into Detroit where they've got to bus it for 2 hours to get there to work, or they're sending it overseas. Not to even get around the water issue they're having in Flint. I mean, it's just, these are things that are happening, and then they wonder why we have the unemployment rate be the way it is when we can't even keep our own product in our own country.
It's remarkable. It's absolutely remarkable. I just was interested in the federal individual income tax and the 7 rates. They're 10 to 30%. Now that's federal. So if you say you take the lowest one, let's take the lowest rate, 10%, and then you mix in state tax.
I pay about 24% a check.
But now that's just off the top because now you have to look at all the taxes you pay.
Oh, that's with state and federal together. I think federal's about 15%.
Yeah, but if you add those together and then you add in when you're buying stuff when you pay tax,
then you pay another sales tax.
So you're talking about most people probably average around 30% of their money.
But is that those sales tax that we have on, like in Minnesota, you don't pay sales tax on clothes. But food and other things like that.
But you're talking 25 to 30% of your income.
Right. So sales tax, does that go to the state or does that go federal?
That's state.
It is state
And
taxes.
Yeah, that's state. Minnesota is one of the highest for state tax rates.
Well, yeah, but we
have
also
great quality of living.
Yeah,
Exactly.
healthcare,
we have infrastructure. We have trains and buses.
Exactly.
Everywhere you
Light
go.
rail and the bus systems and
There's public programs. Agree, 100%. I don't have anything wrong with it. I'm just saying, once you start to read it and it makes sense, once I read Robert Kiyosaki's book, because if you can find a way to take that away and start, now if you gave, like you just said, every check, just by the payroll tax cut, he's going to be getting extra couple $100 a check.
So when it comes down to it, by the end of it, I'll be like, by the end of the year, I'll have another $2,000 in my pocket.
See how big of a difference that is?
That's huge.
That's a huge difference.
That's 3 months worth of rent.
That is huge. That means over the course of a year, it would be more like $4,000 to $5,000. So that's why it makes so much sense once you realize it. If you can find a way to be your own business and then not have to pay taxes, it's really, really magical, because that instantly opens you up to having an extra 20-30% income. Correct. Like if you could go from 60 to 70% of your income to 80 to 90 to 100% because you have the access to not having to pay taxes, that's the power that comes with being your own business owner. Is once you realize that, you can then stop having to pay that 20 to 30% of your money in taxes, which for me has been crucial, because at 20-30% I can start funneling back into savings, funneling into stock, funneling into my business, and it helps me incredible. So that's why I stopped paying. I haven't paid, it sounds crazy, but I haven't paid taxes in years. I've just found a way where I can earn money, and then I make sure that at the end of the year I reinvest it in my business. So if I have, say at the end of the year I have an accountant, my accountant tells me you're going to owe $3,000, and I have $3,000 in my bank, I go and I invest it in something for my business, and I grow it. So instead of giving the 3 G's to the bank, to the IRS, I invest it in my business, and now the next thing you know, I have a new whatever, like I bought a new moving truck that year or whatever. You invest it in the business instead of giving it to the IRS.
Well, that's what's nice about me in this situation, since I've opened up Trey Entertainment and gotten this business thing set up now. I'm able to use my receipts for things I buy and invest into this company as a tax write-off for my business.
Yeah, so if it was me, this is my perspective, I'm not saying you do this, but I would start claiming, I would advise people to start claiming the max so they don't have any deductible, claim exempt. And then you get nothing taken away. And then if you're and you open a business right away, now you can start investing that money that would have gone to the taxes into your business. So if you can take
it's going to be a write-off that way.
Exactly. So now you instantly have 20 to 30% of the money that was going to go to your taxes, you're putting it in your business, and they're not going to be able to get it because you're investing in a business. And it makes sense because that business is going to be able to employ people. Imagine once in a year or two or less, next thing you know, Trey Entertainment, it needs an intern. That makes sense why they would, and then you're going to start.
So how does that work when you go ahead and you file? You're not obviously filing a W-9 form or anything like that when it comes to your taxes. You're going to go to a special tax person to deal with that stuff, right? You can't do that on your own.
Yeah, but it's basically, exactly. I have an accountant I advise with.
Exactly.
But it's basically 1099 and so
1099,
forth.
Okay.
Other things. But there's other, I'm not an accountant, as I said, don't mistake me for an accountant. But I've talked with my accountant, and once you have an LLC, you open up the door for all kinds of tax advantages. And all you have to do is file and you're good to go. And now you can start taking that money that you would have gave to the IRS just out the gate. And this is why I think it's such a big topic, because so many people don't understand that they want us to be that person that pays the bill. They want you, the whole system is set up to educate you to be a worker, to be someone that is the worker of the big boss at top. So this is why I kind of look at it like modern slavery.
Yeah, don't be your own boss. They don't want that.
No.
That's outside the box. They're afraid of that.
Because if you become
They need worker bees.
They need you to be the one that makes them all the money and pays all the taxes.
Exactly.
When you look at it, the middle class pays all the taxes, and they get fucked more than anyone. Look at this. They were trying to give a $600 check to you during a pandemic, a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic, a $600 unemployment check to people that were lost work because of a pandemic, and they don't want to give you anything. But
they want you to live on that. They want you to pay your mortgage, pay your rent, pay your expenses on $600. That is going to work. That ain't happening unless you're Jesus for some reason and can take fish and turn it into a multitude, just like you can with cash and turn that into a multitude. That's not gonna work.
It isn't gonna work. That's why you have to start becoming one of the people that has a business that can do that. That's why once you realize this, it makes so much sense because look at the education system is built to make you have to be an employee. So you go to college and you get the employee mindset to be a good worker, whatever you do. Now you have college debt where you have to start working to pay that debt down because someone up top made a bunch of money off your college loans. Don't trick around it. Don't dance around it. Someone's making a bunch of money off your college loans.
Yeah.
Someone.
Yeah.
They're not saying, "Oh, let's just give this."
It's not free. So someone has got their hands in the cookie jar.
It's essentially a trap because then now look at that. Now you have now you have the money you owe on your student debt and the college debt payment, and now you have to work to pay that, and now you're stuck being an employee, and you're not really equipped and trained and taught to how can I open my own business and how can I become the person that doesn't have to pay the tax because the middle class pays the taxes. It's insane. Isn't it?
To the point where middle class is little by little being whittled away. Where it's high class and it's lower class.
Exactly.
You know, the middle class back in the day used to run this country. It used to be the income that was coming in and taxes coming in, and those people were the blue collar workers, the hard workers, and what made this country proud and made it what it was and as good as what it was. Now you're either part of the 1% or you're in the 99%, and that 99%, a lot of us are in the poverty lower level. I mean, I make $24,000 a year. And I'm sorry, I do this, and what I do here is because I'm hoping one day down the line I don't have to be a slave to going into a situation of a job where I'm working, like you said, for that big boss man up in the sky and get paid a lot less than what I'm worth.
It's all about what I talk about. With everything I do, you see me, I'm doing it. I live in a hostel. I don't ride. I don't have a car. I live a minimal life, and I'm able to do what I love. It's the most amazing thing ever. Once you can realize this space is magical. Once you don't let anything else control what you do, when you do it, and you just make happiness the focus. If I have to ride the bus, I don't fucking care. I don't have to go work a job I hate. Like he said, most people are. It's unfortunate, for lack of a better word, they are slaves to the system. They are slaves to their day job, slaves to debt, slaves to financial obligation, and they're stuck paying all these things and doing these things because they only know how to make money one way, and they're being taxed, and it's just sad when you realize that the majority of people paying the taxes are the hardworking blue collar people. It's sad, but it's just the reality.
And that's the American dream. That's what we've been sold on.
The American dream. That's the dream.
You get old, you get to be an adult, you get married, you have kids, you work a job for the rest of your life, retire at 65. Collect Social Security, which Social Security is a joke today.
It's not going to be there.
And then die.
It's not going to be there.
So me and JR, we're thinking outside of the box that we don't want to follow with the masses. We don't want to fall in line with the sheep. We want to create our own reality of what we want it to look like. I don't hate my job. I do like my job. But at the same time, I would like to eventually get it to the point to where I don't have to depend on a paycheck biweekly, that I can actually, when I go to bed at night, have residual money flowing at all times to where I don't have to worry about whether or not I can make it into work and work those hours and get money to be able to pay my bills, because I know if I'm sick that day and I can't make it into a job right now, that would suck. That's money out of my pocket. When I am working and I'm making residual money off my business and what I'm doing, it's happening 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I know what I'm getting out of that. I want to cut the chains.
And here's the thing, dude, that's so great about this talk, Del, is once you realize it, look at what he just said. He just hit it on the head. You're dependent on that job. Now, imagine when that job's gone. This is a great time to talk about it because of the pandemic. What are you going to do to earn income? What skills do you have to make money on your own? What skills and insights and experiences can you use to make money on your own? Because ultimately, it's not that far away. Look at it, Del. This is why I want to talk about it. It's kind of I'm thinking ahead, but it's once robots come and the automation of it's just real. Robot automation of pizza flipping. Pizza machine, like I live in Seattle. I've seen it. Seattle Domino's it's downtown by Microsoft. They have a Domino's. They did a test. There's a robot that made pizzas for the whole shop all day. The machine costs $33,000 and it lasts for 20 to 30 years, and it makes pizza for the whole shop, sun up to sundown, and it takes one person to run. So this stuff is coming. Once the Domino's jobs are gone, McDonald's jobs are automated away, burger flipping, pizza making, call centers, and automated vehicles, which is not that far away, people.
No, they're already testing.
It isn't. They're already doing it. It's not that far
well,
away.
They're even talking about, they're already doing, like, you go to the grocery store and you can do the self-checkout. They're at the point now that eventually they're saying that within the next 10 years, you will walk in and there will be a robot connected to those stations that will take care of everything that you need to do and get your groceries.
I was in Vegas and I rode in a self-driving Uber. It was a tester. You had
How
to
was that?
approve it.
Was that pretty sweet?
It was wicked. It was so you had the option. I booked it. And it was like a trial that they were doing in the area. It was a company that was implementing the software and the technology, and you had to approve it. And I was like, hell yeah, I'll take an Uber that's self-driving. I wanted to see what it's like.
Did it feel safe?
There was a test guy in there, so he was sitting in the car in the front seat, and I sat in the back. And then he was testing it, and he was the guy observing, making sure he could override anything if it went wrong.
Did you feel safe though?
100%. It was incredibly safe. It stayed like 10 feet away from vehicles at all times. It felt way safer than driving with the human. Way safer. I felt more safe. It was the distance maintained. There was no erratic stop and speed.
Well, that brings up a good question.
So this is why this is a great topic, though. I just want to lead into this quick. Is because once you realize it, you're going to have to evolutionize the taxes because there's not going to be the people to pay the taxes. Yep,
I have a question to be devil's advocate here. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. No, you're good, brother.
But if we're becoming to where we feel safe on AI and not on human nature, there's a problem there.
In certain areas. But I disagree.
See, I'm just throwing it on the wall to see if it sticks.
I think that's that's what we're supposed to be doing.
That's what I'm doing because people are afraid and they have the fear of that AI and
which
robots
is why
are going to
we
take
need
over.
to merge with it.
Are we supposed to feel comfortable and conditioned to trust AI and robots, or are we supposed to somehow try to trust our fellow man?
This is always about what I'm doing here. This is everything is about this. It's about auditing our awareness and our perspective. So exactly, that's right. That is a true threat. If we build a creature or an artificial robot that's better and stronger and could eventually one day eliminate us, that's damn right true. But that's why we have to be aware and merge with the technology. We have to merge with it, and then it's not an issue. But yes, I agree with you. There's certain areas where we do have to be aware to the threats they have.
Well, that's what's happening.
But if we don't merge with it, what if we are the ones, Dell, that we get the chip because we're thinking different than everyone?
Right.
And at the end of the day, all of a sudden, we say yes to merging with technology. And when they have a chip out that you could put in your brain that makes you use 100% of your brain instead of 10%, we say yes.
No, according to religious faith, that's the mark of the beast. Doing
I'm
the
just
chip,
saying.
and I guess that's the end times. That's what my mom and dad would say. But I mean, even with
I think that's the answer to what you're saying is merging.
Because even with we have sex robots now. In fact, Joe Rogan had one on his podcast the other day with one of the Cummings is her name. She had one of her sex robots that she bought.
Cumming.
Yeah, her last name is Cummings, but she had one of her sex robots that she had made in her image, and it talks. It literally talks and moves and everything, and like conversates with you. A lot of people are worried about stuff like that. They're even talking about sex brothels that are made with sex robots. That's supposed to be happening. They're talking about one in Las Vegas. That eventually our relationship dynamic and how we deal with talking with other people and stuff is getting to be more AI and artificial, that we're not going to be able to know how to. There was a movie made with Bruce Willis in it. I can't remember what it was called, but that's what it was. Everyone sat in a chair at home with a VR system and let their robot clone go out into the world so they would be safe.
No, I think it's really interesting, and it's going to be so cool to live through. But I think it's really cool, interesting topic, because look, I'm going to bring it back to taxes and the whole concept.
Yeah, we got kind of off the subject.
No, we didn't.
There.
I'm going to show how it connects.
It connects. Was interested in it.
Because we need to understand that technology is coming, and we need to merge with it. If we want to grow and evolve, we have to merge with it and work with it and use it to be better and stronger. Imagine if a technology came along that we merged with, and now we're like optimized. It makes sense. But the key is I want to recognize with the taxes is once these jobs are gone, this is why politics and legislation and laws have to change, and tax will have to change. Because once we start working a little less and there's robots, and we have to start doing things differently, they're going to have to start, it's called a value-added tax. So this is what Andrew Yang proposed. It was on the tech companies like Amazon, and every time they did a transaction, like say Amazon did a bunch of transactions and they made a bunch of money, each individual transaction would be taxed like a percentage. It's called a value-added tax, and it would generate tons of money for the country. And it makes sense because once these jobs are all gone, you can't tax robots. So the money's going to go to the business owner because he's going to have no taxes to pay and no employees to pay. He's going to buy robots that do everything. So then you're going to have to find a way, how am I going to generate taxes for our country in America when we don't have individuals to tax? Because, do you get what I'm saying, Del?
No,
it's really interesting
get it.
because the evolution of taxes has to happen. And that's one of the ways Andrew Yang talks about it, is taxing the big companies a percent per transaction. And it makes sense. Because
completely.
And then once you realize that, it makes it more important, like you just said about relationships. The more you can connect with people and use your personal story to connect with people, it's going to become more valuable. Because when robots come, that's one thing they're never going to be able to do. It's really cool topics you just brought up, man. Because human connection is the most powerful thing. Human to human connection.
Yeah, these are things I just ponder on. These are things that I sometimes will just sit, like, especially when I'm on the bus and I got some tunes going on in my ear and stuff like that, and I'll sit there and be like, I'll ponder those questions. Like, what is going to happen when this happens? And how are we going to adjust? Because these things will be coming.
But that's the thing.
So how are we going to change and adjust to it and accept it or have tolerance to it or whatever you want to say it is?
But the thing is, the legislation and the politics is the issue because they are so slow to change. They don't want to grow and evolve. They don't want to change.
It's
if
like
you think
they're
about
in molasses.
it,
Yep,
exactly.
They're stuck in molasses.
And religion is one of them too. Religion and politics, they just stayed the same
religion
forever.
is still stuck back with the ways of the Bible. So I mean, we're talking 2,000 years ago.
Exactly, but that's why I love talking about this stuff. The dialogue, it's super interesting. But taxes is we're gonna have to change it, and we're gonna, as you say, Del, have to find ways as individuals to start making money by ourselves. Because so many people are learning just now today how it is to lose your job and be dependent on a job. Now, how can you make money?
Last question before we go. Believe in a flat tax? Like a 10% flat tax, 20% flat tax across the board for everybody, no matter what income you make?
That's a good question. A flat tax.
Why don't you think about that, and we'll come back to the subject one other day in one of our podcasts, because we've been on here for 41 minutes. But yeah, I mean, the flat tax, that's always something that people argue about, is coming across with a flat tax, that it would tax the people that have more money that way, that are not going to be hurt by that 20%, and keep it even keel between the taxes being paid into the government by the rich and by the poor.
No, I think the system we have, honestly, is really good. I just think I would add a value-added tax. Okay. Simple. I would tax the major companies, the top 10, like Google, Microsoft, and then you would bring tons of money from that. I would add a value-added tax. I believe Andrew Yang has it right, where you would tax Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook.
Yeah, because if they're making over a certain amount of money, I think
they can afford it.
Yeah, exactly.
They can afford to, and then it improves the greater good of the nation.
How much money do they need?
Exactly, but at the same time, it's a balance. But at the same time, I just think the tech industry can afford. That's what I would think the answer would be is taxing the tech industry a percentage per transaction, because they have such an exuberant amount of money. But I do think that taxes are always going to be a real thing, and it's always going to be there. I just find it interesting to think about how once robots come, our income tax and earned income tax is going to start slowly disappearing. And I think it's super cool. I think people like us, you're individually going to start to learn how to make money by yourself and not have to be dependent on a job. And then you're going to pay less taxes and work a little bit less and spend a little bit less. But for me, it's been a blessing. I've been starting this business, and it's just launched in July, and it's not like we're making a ton of money, but my freedom and happiness is better than it's ever been. I don't have to go to a job I don't like. I am in a great, amazing spot, and I feel like if more people could just get to a space where they're doing something they love, and they don't have to go to a job they hate, and they're happier, they feel freer, and it comes from having minimalistic ways of living that I've done, where I've minimized my expenses and financial obligations and liabilities, and now I'm able to start my own business, and I'm minimizing the amount of money I'm giving in taxes. It sounds crazy, but business owners, that's the advantage I get. So that's what I want to. I appreciate you, Del, bringing up this topic.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting topic. I mean, taxes are something that it's kind of like we had talked about with death. You're never going to avoid them. They're going to be there. So those are truths. Those are promises that are going to be there. So, but anyway, thank you for joining us today for both of our podcasts that we had today, and for listening to us talk about taxes today. I want to thank everybody out there for subscribing and following us and talking to us on all the different platforms that we have. I am the Recovery Atheist. And
The Recovery Atheist.
that is correct. And you can find me on YouTube, the Recovery Atheist channel. You can also find me on Instagram and also Twitter under the Recovery Atheist. I'm at therecoveryatheist@gmail.com. Facebook, Del Bacon, the Recovery Atheist. And oh yeah, I want to throw this in there now for everybody. You can go right on Spotify now.
Spotify.
Search, put my name, the Recovery Atheist, in the search engine, the search box, and you will find me at the top of the list. And you can listen to me and enjoy me anytime you would like with me and JR. So, thank you, everybody. I'll pass it on to JR.
Yeah, I just think once again it's really a pleasure to be able to do what I'm doing and do something I love and enjoy. And I think one of the number one reasons I'm able to do what I'm doing here today is because I've lived a minimalistic life and I've put my happiness first. And I don't want to work a job I don't like or do something I hate just to make money and survive and get by. And one of the number one reasons I've been able to do that is because I started my own company and I've minimized my expenses, my financial obligations, and my debts and liabilities. And now I'm sitting here with Del Bacon doing what I love at Wierman Media Studios.
And thank you so much for that.
With my own business and own company, and I'm sacrificing certain things to make it happen, but it's the happiest I've ever been, and you can do the same thing by starting your business and learning that there are advantages to having a business, and one of them is just how the tax codes are, is you get an advantage for tax breaks. So that's a big topic. We're going to keep leaning into this, and more things and more topics in the future, and ultimately, your attention is our oxygen here at Wierman Media. Fast, flexible, fluid content creation for the modern day.
Peace.
Peace.